Okay, if I can have your attention, please. We have Denny Hamlin, Virginia's own Denny Hamlin, joining us here in the Media Center at Martinsville Speedway. And Denny's won 4 times here at Martinsville, sat on the pole 3 times. And I know he'd like to get back to victory lane here on Sunday. He's also going to be hosting the Denny Hamlin Short Track Showdown, going to be later next month. Over at South Boston, and Denny's, it's always a very good cause that goes to for the Denny Hamlin Foundation. So we'll talk about that a little bit, but my first question to you, Denny, is just talk about how your car is and how the first practice went and your outlook for Sunday's race.
Yeah, it's a little bit early to tell. Nobody really was in race trim much that first practice, so you kind of are not going to know till tomorrow where you stand on as far as that's concerned. But you know, overall, our cars had okay speed. Ours did. Our teammates were a little bit off, but you know, it looked like you know, Hendrick cars obviously have some very good speed as they should, and you know, so I'm sure today we'll probably be chasing them in qualifying, and I'm sure in the race as well.
Take questions now for Denny Hamlin. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll start here, Jeff Gluck on the front row, and then we'll go to Bob Pockers, and then back to Kelly. Jeff, Bob, and Kelly.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. This might be kind of an obvious question, but why do people get so mad at each other here? I mean, it's not like this is the only short track on the circuit, yet here it seems like people just, after every single race you go back to, somebody's mad at somebody.
You know, it's just it's the tight confines, and I mean, you really contact is almost unavoidable at this racetrack, and usually when there is contact, it affects somebody negatively, and that person feels like it could have been avoided. The other person sometimes doesn't, and so there's a disagreement. So I think it's just part of this racetrack. I mean, if you put us on a quarter-mile track, we're probably going to have even more altercations with each other. So it's just the smaller the track, the more chances of that's going to be inevitable. Especially, it's a one-groove track. The other short tracks we go to, you can move around a little bit, and you know, you can avoid it. Where here, everyone fights for the bottom. So usually, you know, it usually happens because somebody's hung on the outside. They're trying to get to the bottom, trying to force their way to the bottom. Somebody doesn't cut them a break and ends up spinning them out. So it's that's usually what happens here, and it's probably 90% of why the wrecks happen and people are upset.
Let's go to Bob Pockris, and then we'll go to Nate while we're on the front row, and then we'll go back to Kelly.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Do you feel like you're chasing the 4 car right now, or do you feel like you're still kind of chasing yourselves and more concerned about yourselves than what anybody else is doing?
Yeah, I think ourselves. That's a fair question. I think that, you know, as a program we could still be better. I thought last week we showed signs of progress. You know, you still have to finish and execute the way you're supposed to at the end of these races, you know, to win them. But I thought that, you know, overall in the mile-and-a-half program, I thought that that's been our strong suit really for the last year and a half. If we've had any strong suit at all, it's been on the bigger tracks. It's these tracks that you become a little bit more concerned with, and are anxious for us to see this weekend kind of where our program stands on the short tracks, because, you know, we feel like you know, we have some great short track drivers in our stable that haven't got to showcase that over the last 2 years because our program's been so bad. So I think that you know, hopefully that turns around this weekend.
Stay on the front row, Nate, and then we'll go back to Kelly and then to Jay. Go ahead.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. I guess following up on that, Denny, given the struggles and knowing that at this track maybe you could carry the car a little bit more than another place because you're so good here just as a driver, is there more pressure, or is it more imperative to try to get the win this weekend, knowing that there might not be another track where you might be able to do it and take all the pressure off of making the chase and everything?
You know, normally I'd say yes, but, you know, really it's been the bigger tracks where we've had our best opportunities to win races. It hasn't been at these. We did run pretty strong here, though, in the chase race last time we were here. For me, our struggles come more at like Richmond, Loudon, and Phoenix, where our program is just taken a turn to the bad over the last couple of years. And so this is kind of a one-off racetrack that, like you said, the driver can make up a little bit of a difference. That's why you see the same drivers up front here. Really, no matter what's going on in their program, they're up front here. And so I think that this is kind of a one-off track as far as that's concerned. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very confident when we come here that this is one of those opportunities you need to seize as a race team. And so, you know, we should be in the mix. You know, hopefully when it comes Sunday, it's just a matter of whether we can get our cars to do the things we need them to do. Yeah, it would be, and obviously, you know, it's been said 1,000 times about, you know, when the last Toyota win has been, and it's been tough. It's been a hard year for the organization and the manufacturer. So not that a win here would just satisfy all those needs. We still know that realistically we've got a lot of work to do, but it definitely would take a lot of pressure off, because right now we're all kind of in that hornet's nest of, you know, the bubble spot, I guess you could say, if this thing comes down to points.
All right, let's go back in the back. Kelly, raise your hand.
Kelly Crandall from PopularSpeed.com. Denny, after Daytona, we went to 4 intermediate tracks. Curious if you like that stretch of racing and if you think it gave a pretty good idea of who the players are going to be this year.
Yeah, I think it does, and really I'm in favor of just going wherever there's not going to be a high chance of rain or cold weather. You know, really it doesn't matter how they iron out these racetracks at the beginning of the season, but we definitely need to think about, you know, weather and what it's going to be like. You know, the Atlanta was luckily turned out pretty decent, but it was a very cold weekend, you know, thrown in there. So, you know, it's tough to do because we are in an outside sport to try to predict weather, but I think that we do have an idea of what we got, but it's so early in the season that teams still, you know, I think it's going to be midsummer before you'll really start to understand where your program fully is, and you go back to some of these racetracks again. So I think it's everyone right now is obviously chasing the 4-car and some other Hendrick guys, but you know, still plenty of time to catch those guys here in the future.
Let's go back over here to the far right. Raise your hand, Jay. Right side, middle, Jay, and then we'll go back up here to Bob.
Jay Pennell with Fox Sports. Given the announcement about JD earlier this week, just talk about what he means to your organization and what the atmosphere is like in the shop and everything with that news coming out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, JD is you know, been the guy that's really run the company when I first came in 2004, 5, and 6 when Joe was still doing football. So he was you know, a huge part of that, and I think, you know, his role was probably reduced a little bit when his dad came back, but he's obviously you know, very important part of our organization and how it's run and things like that. So you know, he's still, I mean, it's not like he can't do those things. He's still going to be at the shop doing some work and doing things, but obviously he's got to overcome some obstacles, and really that family is faced some obstacles, obviously, with his son, you know, just a few years ago. So, you know, they're tough and they'll work through it. And as an organization, we're all praying for them.
Let's go up here front row, Bob Pockris.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. I was going to ask, have you talked to JD since learning of the diagnosis, and kind of what's his? I mean, was he upbeat, and can you give us any kind of details of the conversation, or at least kind of the mood of the conversation?
I haven't since they announced it, but, you know, I think personally I've known for a little bit about it, but, you know, really he seems upbeat about it. I mean, I saw him last weekend at the racetrack, and he seems fine. It's not something that he really harps on, but obviously it's something that's very serious, and you got to treat it seriously. So I think that you know, they got some of the best doctors in the world, you know, trying to help them and trying to figure out what's going on, and I think they're still in the process of figuring out what all is going on. So that'll be ongoing, I'm sure, for a little while.
Back here on the front row, Jeff Gluck. Raise your hand, Jeff.
I know you keep up on the news. I'm sure you've been following and hearing the rumors about this whole tire thing recently. I just was curious if you think there's any legs to that, if you think that's been really happening.
I think for sure it has. I think that, really, I think I know NASCAR set down all the crew chiefs last year in Phoenix and told them to stop doing it. So my guess is if they said stop, then they've seen something. So if it's out there and they know about it, I mean, you should be gone forever. I mean, that's a major, major, major thing. And, this isn't like the old rodeo days of being able to go out there and run a, big motor or, soak the tires. Like, this is a professional sport, and, people, alter tires. That's a big, big deal, and definitely no room for it in the sport. That's for sure. So, hope they clamp down on that if they do find it, and if they find it multiple times with somebody, they should have a permanent vacation somewhere.
Other questions for Denny? Right here, front row. Claire, raise your hand. Right here on the front row. She's got in her box seat there, Sweets.
Claire Belang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. A follow-up to that, what is the conversation about this? Because last week there was some anonymous reports about it, and NASCAR said that it was a non-issue, but they also said perception is reality, and that they don't want anyone to think that others are competing doing that. So is rampant word in the garages that what people are talking about? I mean, you're a driver, you heard of it, and crew chiefs, I mean, what is the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, this has been going on for years and years. It's just ramped up again here lately. Now, when I say going on, just rumors and stuff, but I mean, people can only say something about you so much before it's actually reality, and it's reality. I mean, it's things like this doesn't keep getting brought up and said if it's not actually happening. So I think that I'm not real close to it because we haven't had our tires confiscated or anything like that. Wish we were running well enough for that to happen, but we haven't. But I think that it's going to be a tough thing, from what I understand, for them to figure out whether it's a natural leak or a drill-induced leak. So they'll figure out a way. They'll figure out a way, and whether it be somebody else looking at the tires to try to figure it out, they'll find it. And when they do, the person, when they feel NASCAR getting hot on them, they're going to stop doing it. And so that's maybe when you see maybe some performance differences. You never know. We don't know what kind of performance difference it can do because we haven't done it.
Got time maybe for one more, and I'm going to ask Denny a little bit too. If it looks like we're done here, maybe talk a little bit about, Denny, about your short track showdown. Certainly, that's been an event that has grown bigger and bigger every year, and certainly the people up in this part of Virginia are very, very excited about it taking place again this year. It's going to be at South Boston. What can you tell about it?
Yeah, we're going back to South Boston for second year in a row, and really they did such a great job the first year of helping with promotion and putting the event on, and running the event. Everything just went so well for us last year. Obviously, it was a pretty quick decision to go back again this year, and had a great race last year. Matt Bowling obviously won in great fashion. It was awesome to see a good finish at the end, and I wish I was a part of it. Unfortunately, I haven't run very good over the last few years in my own race, but lack of practice time, more than likely, I'll blame it on. But I don't know. Just it's we have close to 50 cars, and some great guys come out and support that. And we had a packed, standing room only, or stand in the back of your truck room only type atmosphere last year, and had cars on top of each other, and so we had just about everything you can imagine. So we were very excited to have it again, and obviously it all, the proceeds 100% go to the Denny Hamlin Foundation, which will benefit a lot of different children's charities, mainly cystic fibrosis, which my cousin has and still fighting with. So we're hopefully going to have another successful year. this year with it. So looking forward to that, and then obviously we're just about a month or so away. So I believe tickets are $20, and you know, Suite I think is $200. So it's we've got some great stuff going on with it. So obviously this is going to be a sold-out crowd again. So better get your tickets now if you want to watch it.
And that's April the 23rd at South Boston. And we do have defending race champion here with us. Matt Bolin is here in our midst. And Matt, raise your hand there, Matt. Matt, as Denny alluded to, put on a great show last year at the race with a super finish. He's got some really good drivers in that thing this year. Chase Elliott, David Reagan, Timothy Peters. Matt Kenseth is making an appearance, and Hall of Famer Bill Elliott will be the Grand Marshal. So I encourage the folks up in this area in particular to mark that on their calendars, April the 23rd. Matt Bolin will be here along with Denny, and they'll linger in here for a couple extra minutes to do some interviews. And I believe Denny's also going to be back up in this neck of the woods Tuesday. If I'm not mistaken, you're going to be back up here doing something with Richmond International Raceway. So,
Yep.
you know, that race is coming right up as well. So we always enjoy coming here to the Commonwealth. And, Denny, you're one of the favorite sons. So we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Denny. All right, my man.